thousands wander the streets of Philadelphia with no place to go. Tents, trash, and silent cries fill the night. Once the city of freedom, now the city of zombies. Shadows move through the streets, hungry not for flesh, but for hope.
Welcome to US Homeless Stories.
This is US Homeless Stories, where we explore the naked underbelly of America's cities, stripping away the glamour to reveal the silent battles for survival. On the misty streets of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, lives Teeter on the edge amid a haze of PCP, where fleeting highs mask abysses of despair, and dreams fade faster than morning mist. The cradle of American independence, Philadelphia conjures up images of booming industries, strong relationships, and the radiant glow of the American dream. But there's a cruel irony. Thousands of our people wander without homes, utterly abandoned. How could the cradle of liberty ignore such painful falls? Why do we rush past these broken souls in our daily rush? The statistics are heartbreaking. In 2024, 5,291 people were homeless in Philadelphia overnight, a 9.8% increase from 2023. According to the city's point-in-time survey, numbers that are not just data, but the resilient lives that await us. Let's dig deeper into the soul of Philadelphia's homeless. Stories of conflict, extraordinary strength, and urgent calls for change. What hidden truths will shock you next? One, a forgotten past and a fading present. Kensington, once a vibrant industrial powerhouse in Philadelphia, welcomed waves of immigrants from Ireland, Germany, and Puerto Rico throughout the 20th century, building a foundation of opportunity and community. Factories hummed with activity, and family-owned shops dotted the avenues, creating a tapestry of hard work and aspiration. Today, that legacy feels distant, as the neighborhood contends with a population density of around 15,000 residents per square mile, making it one of the city's most densely packed yet underserved areas. Tents line the sidewalks, and the atmosphere carries a weight of quiet endurance, with poverty rates hovering at 45%, a sharp juxtaposition to the polished historic district nearby. Shifting from this historical backdrop to personal journeys, we see how economic changes have rippled through lives. Amid these streets lives Maria, a 52-year-old former bakery owner whose story captures both the loss and the strength of this place. Once known for her warm pastries on Lehigh Avenue, she now lives in a tent near Somerset Street, still sharing her recipes and dreams with others, facing the same hardship. Her determination reflects how old passions can light the way through dark times. As we delve deeper, it's clear that Kensington's transformation didn't occur in isolation. It's the outcome of decades of shifting industries and neglected support systems. Yet, in the midst of this, glimmers of determination emerge, reminding us that every tent shelters not just a person, but a reservoir of untapped potential. How can we harness such resilience to foster lasting community renewal? From my perspective, witnessing these shifts teaches us that honoring our shared history isn't just about nostalgia. It's about using those roots to plant seeds for a stronger tomorrow, one where no one is left adrift in the currents of change. 2. Center of the crisis. Kensington Avenue is more than a street. It's the heartbeat of Philadelphia's struggle, where the human cost of homelessness unfolds in plain sight. Beneath the trembling tracks of the elevated train, rows of tents stretch for blocks, forming a fragile city within a city. Here, the sound of traffic blends with whispered prayers and quiet conversations of those fighting to make it through another night. In 2025, nearly 1 in 5 of all unsheltered Philadelphians live in Kensington, while emergency calls have surged over 12%, each number a cry for help echoing through the cold air. Yet amid the chaos, moments of humanity break through. Volunteers from Prevention Point, Philadelphia, walk these streets daily, carrying clean supplies, compassion, and the faint hope that someone will make it out. They know the faces, The names, the stories, people who were once neighbors, workers, dreamers. As daylight fades, small fires flicker under bridges, where residents gather for warmth and safety. In one encampment near Allegheny Avenue, they've built a fragile network of care, watching over each other, cooking shared meals, proving that even on society's edge, kindness still burns bright. Kensington's crisis is not just local, it's a mirror held up to the nation. It reflects decades of neglect and the absence of empathy in policy. Advocates plead for housing-first solutions and treatment programs that heal instead of punish. Because here, among broken sidewalks and weary faces, there's still something unbreakable. The human will to survive, to care, and to believe that even the forgotten deserve a future. 3. Root causes. Behind every tent on Kensington Avenue is a story of loss, not failure. Decades ago, this neighborhood was alive with factory whistles and steady paychecks. Work gave people pride and purpose. But when industries moved overseas, jobs vanished, and with them, hope. What followed wasn't sudden collapse, but slow erosion. Streets once filled with laughter grew quieter, homes emptied, and small businesses shuttered. By the 1990s, redlining and disinvestment sealed Kensington's fate, turning resilience into survival. Today, unemployment stands near 22%, and Philadelphia faces a shortage of more than 40,000 affordable homes. Families are forced to choose between rent and food. These numbers aren't abstract, they represent real people losing stability one paycheck at a time. And then came the opioid wave. It began with pills promising relief and spiraled into addiction, grief, and despair. Fentanyl and xylazine now haunt the streets, driving overdose emergencies up 15% since 2024. Yet, even in the darkest corners, hope remains. Neighbors still share meals. Volunteers still show up. There's defiance in their compassion, a refusal to give up on this place. Kensington's pain didn't appear overnight, and it won't vanish easily. But its story reminds us that if broken systems can destroy a community, united hearts can rebuild it. 4. Drug addiction epidemic. In the heart of Kensington, the drug epidemic isn't just a statistic. It's a living, breathing storm that touches every streetlight, every shadow, every heartbeat that still dares to keep going. The air itself seems heavy with exhaustion, carrying whispers of a neighborhood that's seen too much. Across Philadelphia, officials say that xylazine, a tranquilizer meant for animals, appeared in nearly 4 out of every 10 overdose deaths in 2023. It's almost always mixed with fentanyl, creating a cocktail so lethal that even naloxone, the life-saving spray that revives overdose victims, often can't bring people back. But as if that wasn't enough, something even stronger has entered the mix: medetomidine. By early 2025, it showed up in more than 3/4 of drug samples tested in Philadelphia, surpassing xylazine and redefining what dangerous even means. Hospitals reported patients suffering such violent withdrawal that 9 out of 10 ended up in intensive care, some unable to breathe on their own. These aren't faceless numbers. They're people who once had jobs, laughter, and someone waiting for them at home. Medetomidine and xylazine are changing the landscape faster than help can catch up. Wounds that won't heal, skin eaten away by toxic mixtures. These have become daily realities here. Outreach teams in Kensington walk through this battlefield every night, armed not with weapons, but with compassion, trying to save lives in the narrow space between one heartbeat and the next. The crisis is no longer just about addiction, it's about survival, dignity, and the fragile thread of hope that refuses to snap. 5. How surrounding residents are affected. Just beyond the narrow streets of Kensington, the struggles don't stop, they echo. In nearby neighborhoods like Fishtown, Port Richmond, and Harrogate, life continues, but with an uneasy rhythm. People still walk their dogs, kids still play on cracked sidewalks, but there's a quiet shift in the air. Some describe it as worry, others call it heartbreak. Residents have learned to live between empathy and exhaustion, wanting to help, yet feeling powerless to stop the tide of poverty that drifts so close to home. Shop owners who once greeted customers with easy smiles now keep one eye on the street. Corner cafes close earlier. Evening chatter that once filled the blocks fades sooner into silence. According to a 2025 report by the Philadelphia Housing Authority, Nearly half of nearby residents say they've changed daily routines because of growing unease. Yet statistics tell only part of the story. The real change lives in people's hearts. The small ache of watching a neighborhood lose its sense of ease. The guilt that comes from turning away when the tents become too familiar to notice. Still, hope lingers here. Families like Roberto's on Frankfurt Avenue spend weekends cleaning up alleys, checking on neighbors, organizing after-school activities to keep kids grounded in something brighter. They don't do it for recognition. They do it because they love where they live. These gestures, quiet, steady, human, show that community isn't built on perfection, but persistence. Kensington's pain doesn't end at its borders. It seeps into every corner of the city. Yet those same ripples carry compassion too. And when people choose to care, even when it's uncomfortable, that's when healing begins, not from policy or profit, but from the stubborn kindness of everyday Philadelphians who refuse to look away. 6. Non-profit organizations. In Kensington, non-profit groups aren't just service providers, they're lifelines. The new Kensington Community Development Corporation, NKCDC, plays a major role by combining housing counseling, small business support, workforce training, and health outreach into one mission. Using trauma-informed, equity-based strategies, NKCDC helps residents renovate vacant lots, build affordable homes, and preserve community ownership. In 2025, it opened the Kensington Engagement Center near McPherson Square Library, offering healthcare, legal help, and counseling under one roof. Another essential force is Prevention Point Philadelphia, PPP, known for harm reduction and street outreach. Their Wellness on Wheels program provides naloxone, wound care, case management, and addiction medication directly to those in need. PPP also runs syringe exchanges, drop-in centers, and shelters like Beacon House, helping hundreds regain stability. Their outreach teams, working 5 days a week, guide people toward recovery and housing. Completing this safety net, Project Home delivers medical care through the Epstein Street Medicine Program, offering treatment for chronic illness, infections, and opioid dependence. The organization also provides supportive housing and job training, helping residents rebuild independent lives. Together, these nonprofits form the backbone of hope in Kensington. Their coordinated efforts turn compassion into structure, proving that when communities invest in care, resilience takes root. 7. Solutions for a brighter future. True renewal for Kensington requires not just isolated aid, but a symphony of long-term, interconnected strategies that blend compassion with innovation. Beyond housing and food programs, the future depends on rebuilding trust, nurturing community pride, and fostering local ownership of change. The neighborhood's path forward could begin with transformative housing models, such as modular microhomes built on unused lots, offering private, secure, and affordable spaces while reducing construction time and costs. Cities like Seattle and Austin have already piloted similar approaches, reducing chronic homelessness rates by up to 30% in targeted zones. In Kensington, a comparable initiative could combine city funding with nonprofit labor programs, employing residents in construction and maintenance, turning aid recipients into active participants in their neighborhood's rebirth. Economic empowerment also lies at the heart of lasting recovery. Expanding vocational training hubs tied to local enterprises could equip residents with skills in renewable energy installation, food services, or digital trades, industries with rising demand even amid economic volatility. Collaborations between Project Home, community colleges, and private sector partners could cultivate a circular economy where jobs, education, and mentorship intertwine. At the same time, accessible health centers dedicated to addiction recovery and mental wellness must remain central. Integrating mobile medical units with community-run support groups would bridge gaps in care and restore dignity through consistency and compassion. The ultimate goal is not only to shelter bodies, but to reignite belonging, to weave together safety, employment, and empathy into a resilient social fabric. With transparent funding, active collaboration, and a refusal to accept decline as destiny, Kensington could evolve from a symbol of struggle into a beacon of urban regeneration. Change won't come overnight, but every small act of rebuilding marks a vital step toward a brighter, fairer tomorrow. 8. Transparent funding for lasting impact. Kensington's narratives pulse with perseverance, but the flow of aid to those in need often remains opaque. In 2025, Philadelphia earmarked $12 million for homeless initiatives, yet grassroots entities like Prevention Point assisting over 1,500 monthly with basics like meals and health supplies, grapple with funding gaps. A recent proposal for a homeless services ombudsperson carries a $500,000 budget allocation, aiming to bridge such disconnects. Blockchain emerges as a transformative tool, enabling decentralized tracking of every donation from municipal pots, philanthropists, or drives, directing funds straight to essentials like training or housing growth. A 2024 San Francisco trial dispersed $1 million this way, hiking efficiency by 30% and channeling 85% to front lines. In Kensington, this could amplify Prevention Point's mobile clinics, serving 200 weekly. Such openness fosters trust, spurring contributions with visible impacts. A dashboard showing $50 for meals or $200 for homes cuts the 20% bureaucratic drain from 2024's aid. Prioritizing accountability elevates people above paperwork, ensuring resources spark real hope. How can we guarantee aid reaches street-level lives? As we pivot to social enterprises, transparency's role in empowerment becomes clear. What business spark would you kindle in Kensington for change? From my standpoint, transparent systems aren't just efficient, they're equitable, teaching us that when trust leads the way, communities flourish with every invested dollar. Nine, a social enterprise ecosystem. Kensington's unused spaces promise renewal, ripe for transformation by local tenacity. With 50 vacant lots in 2025, these canvases await social ventures to ignite revival. Envision co-op cafes or farms hiring hundreds, including those in transition, providing salaries alongside renewed direction. A bakery on Allegheny Avenue might revive talents like Maria's, mentoring others in baking to rebuild paths. Los Angeles' Homeboy Industries in 2024 demonstrated 65% stable job gains via similar models, a template for training 200 Kensington folks yearly in gardening or crafting from reclaimed items. These efforts invigorate the economy, with City Council potentially offering tax incentives or affordable leases. Capitalizing on the 2.5-mile proximity to downtown, a 2025 study flags this as prime for small-scale endeavors. Crowdfunding could mobilize nationwide backing, birthing vibrant markets for handmade goods that bind neighbors. At its core, this empowers every resident with rebuilding chances, converting overlooked areas into hope centers, generating employment and esteem. By focusing on people, we nurture Kensington's spirit, showing resilience can lift even the most strained places. What innovative enterprise might you envision for this transformation? How do these models challenge us to rethink community support? In contemplating this, I realized that social enterprises are more than businesses. They're bridges to self-reliance, illustrating that investing in human potential yields dividends for all. Conclusion. Kensington Avenue is not merely a stretch of cracked pavement in Philadelphia. It's a mirror reflecting both the resilience and the neglect that coexist in modern America. To walk its streets is to encounter contradictions, despair woven tightly with hope, hardship standing shoulder to shoulder with courage. Through U.S. Homeless stories, we've ventured beyond statistics and policy papers to meet the individuals who breathe life into these headlines. The mothers, veterans, dreamers, and workers who remind us that humanity persists even when systems fail. Their struggles aren't just cautionary tales. They are testimonies of endurance, painting a vivid picture of what happens when compassion is absent and what miracles unfold when it returns. Every story here, Maria's defiant baking spirit, Marcus's recovery mentorship, Elena's makeshift classroom, reminds us that community doesn't vanish under pressure, it transforms. Amid encampments and boarded storefronts, people continue to share food, knowledge, and laughter. They rebuild belonging in places the world has written off. Kensington, for all its scars, teaches that survival is a creative act, an everyday revolution against despair. The lessons drawn from this avenue reach far beyond its borders. They compel us to question how we define progress and to see that dignity cannot be measured by zip code. Real transformation begins not with massive budgets or distant decrees, but with attention, with the simple act of listening to those we've ignored. As U.S. Homelss Stories continues to shed light on America's hidden struggles, Kensington stands as both a warning and a guidepost. It warns of what neglect breeds, but it also guides us toward empathy-driven action. When we see every tent as a temporary pause instead of a permanent label, we begin to rebuild more than neighborhoods. We rebuild humanity itself. If these stories move you, subscribe to U.S. Homelss Stories and share them widely. Change doesn't start in a government office. It starts in awareness, in connection, and in the willingness to care enough to act.